faith based on the belief that the Son of God, Jesus Christ, has returned in the form of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie.
Today, when I can hear them from across,
depicted by red, green, and gold colors, dreadlocks, reggae music, and cannabis use, the Rastafari religion has become a global phenomenon, with Bob Marley arguably the most famous Rastafarian.
Well, I've been a Rasta from ever since, you know, but it's not how long I've been a Rasta, it's how long it takes to grow up. Because what he is what he is. From beginning to the end, he can never change.
I am Sarah Apenkrupaku, and I'm delving deeper to understand the religion and culture of Rastafarianism.
single worry about a thing.
The refusal of the Achimota Senior High School to admit some students sparked a debate among Ghanaians.
Mr. Speaker, we also need to carry out a sincere reflection on our notion of or understanding of discipline. How does a mere hairstyle affect discipline or militate against discipline?
We have actually deviated from the education of the child to the dreadlocks, which the parents have problems with. Look, technically speaking, I believe that if somebody should sit the boy down and talk to the boy, you will see that the boy has no problem with this particular thing. Who knows whether when the boy grows up, the boy will still be a Rastafarian.
For weeks, it was the talk in town.
But I also get worried about the attempt to rope in Rastafarianism as a religion. If we do, then we'll complicate the matter for the young man. The reason is this: if you study Rastafarianism, it involves the smoking of weed.
We live in a world where we have some level of freedoms. We are allowed to join certain associations. We are allowed to join religions. I mean, there's that level of freedom. So if the child is a Rastafarian and he has dreadlocks, I see no reason why he should be denied access. Of course, his parents are taxpayers, and if taxpayers' money is being used to fund his education, I think he should be allowed.
You're also not suggesting that the bloke should be denied his education. I'm not the one to suggest that. Well, don't allow him to, if he wouldn't cut off his dreadlocks, don't let him go to Motown. It's not an easy one.
I think at the moment, Achimota School cannot do anything more than that. Because come to think of it, tomorrow, in the name of fashion, I can also come and say that I am a Rastafarian. My child should come in dreadlocks. And then another person will come, I'm a traditional religion believer, and so my child should dress a certain way. And so I think that standards must be kept.
Why couldn't the students cut their hair to be admitted into one of the best schools in Ghana?
Because I'm Rasta and that is my culture, that's my way of life.
To some, it was a matter of law.
If you are revising your policy, wouldn't you ask lawyers to check for you whether this policy is also in tandem with the constitution? So they've just goofed. Look, I think Achimota should just eat humble pie. Look, those days of the strong man, we are in charge here, we will decide the rules, please. Look, they are way gone. We have an overriding constitution which allows for freedom of religion and that people can promote and all that.
Determining this case, we feel that the state is a stakeholder and has a vested interest in the welfare of children across the country. Therefore, there must be a clear-cut policy by Ghana Education Service to standardize the way and manner school rules must be fashioned out.
To others, it was a matter of religion.
If it was based upon the person not having the right qualification, then you know that qualification is a key that you're using to exclude people. But to use something as overt as someone's hairstyle, but it's not even a hairstyle, it is a religion, you know, it is their faith. That's why they wear that, and you should honor that.
Why raise the time of the Most High, ye sons of men? The rich man's wealth is in the city. Yeah.
arisen from the proliferation of Pan-Africanism. Rastafarianism took root in Jamaica following the coronation of Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie in 1930.
The Bible says, princes and princesses shall come out of Ethiopia. And so, with that, or shall come out of Egypt, and Ethiopia shall stretch forth their hands. With that was that desire to identify with a spirituality in Africa. Don't forget, Haile Selassie was crowned as a descendant of King David. And so that means, as King of Israel, he had a special significance. And that is what the brethren and sistren sought to identify with.
They developed a certain level of resistance within them where the system is concerned, and having to find a way for themselves in the society, right? So the foundation of it started there. It became a revolutionary force against the colonialists, and the Pan-African agenda came along, later on in life, when it got to the 60s, where there was uprising all over the world, where the black man trying to redeem himself or free himself from slavery.
A spiritual movement based on the belief in Selassie's divinity. Its followers congregated around preachers like Leonard Howell, who founded the first prominent Rastafarian community in 1940.
But because of the affinity to Haile Selassie by Rastafari, they develop a real strong bond with Haile Selassie. So the general Pan-African movement is not as passionate about it as Rastafari. So Rastafari maintain the values and the plans and the intentions of the Ethiopian World Federation that Haile Selassie established for the black people of the world. It was specifically established for the black people of the world to be empowered. That is why it was established, and all the different Pan-African organizations and Black Power movement, there was a part of it. But what happened is that the white man recognized that the unity was getting strong, so they found a way to spread a lot of bad propaganda against Haile Selassie and create division within the ranks of the Pan-African movement. But it's only Rastafari who stood strong up until this time.
Additional branches surfaced by the 1950s, and within 2 decades the movement had earned global attention, thanks to the music of devoted Rastafarian Bob Nestor Marley.
Stand up, stand up. Don't give up the fight, yeah.
Music plays a vital role in the movement of Rastafari. And like you rightly said, Bob Marley is right now the biggest ambassador of Rastafari, and he spread the word through the music. For many Rastafari occasions, music plays a crucial part. The Nyabingi drumming and the chants. So music is key to Rastafari.
You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And now you see the
Although the deaths of Selassie in 1975 and Bob Marley in 1981 took away its most influential figures, Rastafarianism endured through followings in the United States of America, England, Africa, and the Caribbean.
never let I face to live out the greater part of my days. Give I strength, oh, Jah, give I strength, oh.
It began with the idea of Ethiopianism and other movements that emphasized and idealized Africa, especially amongst black slaves in the Americas. For most of these slaves who were introduced to Christianity, the Bible passage of Psalm 68:31 was a prophecy of the Black Messiah.
What Marcus Garvey said, that there will be a king that will be born, and that king will be talking about a liberation. That king will be talking about the go back home. That king will be a representation of resilience of the black man in the diaspora. So when His Imperial Majesty began speaking of that liberation, that go back home, there was that prophecy fulfilled.
Believed to be a descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, Selassie assumed the titles of King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah.
Emperor Selassie was crowned in 1930, and in that coronation, it gave the birth of the word Rastafari, right? Which is Rastafari is 3 words. That's what the name of Haile Selassie before he was crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Emperor Haile Selassie I. It was when he crowned now that it gave birth to a higher level, you know. People like Marcus Garvey was pointing to Africa for redemption, saying that we have to have our own king, our own God, our own every single thing. So in pointing to Ethiopia, it gave it more strength when Haile Selassie was crowned King of Kings. And the movement grew from there.
Although no formalized central church materialized, the budding factions of Rastafarianism found common ground through their belief in a lineage that dated to the ancient Israelites, black superiority, and the repatriation of the diaspora from the oppressive land of Babylon to Africa. Their movement reflected a range of influences, including Old Testament instructions on avoiding certain foods and a local belief in the spiritual powers of marijuana.
The smoking of the marijuana to many people is for reflection, is for commuting or musing, you know, between him and the higher him, you know. But then if you are able to take away that marijuana from this person, trust me, if he has a longevity of 70 years, he get him dead around 45.
I myself am not a smoker, but I do understand marijuana. Marijuana is indeed a sacrament of Rastafari, and some people partake and others don't. But it's not a dangerous substance. Alcohol is dangerous. Do you know how many deaths are caused each year because of alcohol-related accidents?
Most Rastafari prefer natural liberty. However, that does not mean that every Rastaman is a vegetarian. No. I know Rastas who are not vegetarians. I've been vegetarian for years, and right now I eat what I want to eat. Of course, in moderation.
Over the years, branches of Rastafarianism gained devoted followers. The Ethiopian International Congress, also known as Bobo Shanti, formed in 1958. They followed the strict tenets of Prince Emmanuel, which closely mirror Old Testament Jewish law, particularly observing the Sabbath from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, fasting and rigid regulations regarding symbolic, physical and conceptual cleanliness. The 12 tribes of Israel founded by Vernon Carrington, aka the Prophet God, in 1968.
The basic thing is that everybody upholds the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie I. So if you meet the 12 tribes of Israel brethren, or you meet a Bobo Shanti, or you meet an Ayabengi or a Coptic, or they all ascribe to the divinity of the personality of Emperor Haile Selassie I. You know, so that's the underlying factor, because they're setting brethren and sisters who keep Sabbath, and some don't keep Sabbath.
An early contributor in this field was Count Osei, who began drumming at Nyabingi spiritual sessions. While Rastafarian practices spread with the migration of Jamaicans to England, Canada, and the United States from the 1950s into the 1970s, its worldwide growth was aided by the influence of adherents on popular music.
As black people in the history of time, we have been those group of people that try to hide our pain in arts. and play them when the sorrow comes, to remind us that for this is only a moment, but let the very soul in you dance to what there is a pain. It minimizes the pain. So when reggae music popped up, it did pop up, and then it was like the vesicle. It was the Hollywood. It was the radio. It was the medium, and it reverberated to the level that at one point in time, the amount of positivity and then the motivation that popped out within that genre of music made the world started to pay attention.
Later, the movement found its most important ambassador in Bob Marley, a convert to Rastafari and founder of reggae music. The charismatic Marley referenced his beliefs in his songs, achieving widespread acclaim in the 1970s through universally appealing themes of brotherhood, oppression, and redemption.
All pirates, yes, they rabbi, sold I to the merchant ships.
Aside songs, most Rastafaris are easily identifiable with their dreadlocks.
Bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing?
Mpese, in the Ga people or the Asante people, if you go to Yoruba land, they have Dada. So dreadlocks is innate when you look at African culture. Then you have the biblical underpinnings. For the ones who trace or who align with the Bible, they'll tell you that look at Numbers chapter 6 and look at the story of Samson. Samson was a dreadlocks, and his dreadlocks was his source of power. So for many a Rasta man, a dreadlock is part of their livity, whether they're tracing the antecedents from the Bible or they're tracing it from the African origins, be it the Okonfana tradition or the Yoruba tradition or the Kenyan tradition. All I'm saying is that dreadlocks is part of Rastafari. And don't forget, I told you that Rastafari is a doctrine of black liberation.
The natural hair of a black man locks up when it is not combed. And that reminded the systems of the time what the dreads are. We are reminding you that we still have the resistance. I'm not carrying locks, right? But I believe as I speak, you know where my spirit kind is, or what my spirit kind is. I'm a vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for 27 years. All right? Because I care what I eat. It is believed that when the spirit is broken, you will have to renew. And my spirit keep getting broken all the time, because this is me as an academic, a scholar in urban art forms.
The male Rasta is referred to as Ras, while the female Rastafarian is called an Empress. The Empress Meaning Day is celebrated among members of the various mansions of Rastafari in April to teach the value of family and role of females in the Rastafari movement.
Empress Meaning, first of all, was an African woman, an exceptional mother, crowned Queen of Queens of Ethiopia, a role model that every black African woman must hold in high esteem. Had a lot of vision and was a very good helper to her spouse, His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I.
In Ghana, Rastafarianism is believed to be gaining some gradual acceptance after its emergence into the country in the 70s.